it's always attitude. Attitude is probably sort of this first thing, because the company will change just like any startup or any scale up. So the roles will change. And if you have the right person who wants to grow into something, then they will grow into that. And that's, of course, the challenge for everybody when it comes to education.
Welcome to another episode of the Think Beyond Possible cast. Not a podcast. I'm here today with Wolfgang Ettlich.
Wolfgang Ettlich, yeah.
Ettlich, who I met a couple weeks ago at our AI Wednesday night. Yeah. So appreciate you coming. I think that you know our founder, CEO, Levine. How did you guys meet originally?
Some other event, actually. Dragon Law was called back then.
Oh, yeah. That was a long time ago.
A couple of years ago.
Was it? Wait, what was it? What was it before Dragon Law? It was Dragon Law after something else. I don't remember, but cool technology.
Now it's Zeagle.
Zeagle, right? Yeah, when they changed the Zeagle. Cool. It's a lovely name. It's a lovely name. So, in the Think Beyond Possible podcast, we're here for a multitude of reasons, obviously to share what fantastic founders or entrepreneurs are working on, but also to inspire some of the students that come to the Xccelerate ecosystem or in the community to sort of demystify what it takes to learn new skills or achieve greater things, whether or not they want to build their own product or technology or break into the field. So we like to hear the stories from the likes of founders like you, as well as get some tips, tricks, or hacks in terms of what these guys could do to break into industries or emulate some of the great things that you've done. So you have quite a diverse history, which I'll let you maybe give a brief introduction about yourself first before I, start digging into it.
So it started really with the corporates. I was an auditor at KPMG for a while. Came to Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong I was mostly in the startup world. Also there, a couple different experiences. I was CFO of a spa and beauty booking marketplace called Bloomy. We did that for many, many years, 5 or 6 years. Went through all of the stages from how to get the first customer to how to close financing rounds, etc. Then came something totally different, but in a way the same thing. A little bit bigger startup, Flowship. There I was also CFO. It's a e-commerce, logistics, fulfillment company, tech-enabled. So you have the software piece again, but very much with a sort of B2B focus and how to execute operations and how do you integrate complex systems. And for a little bit over a year now, it's been Monoblocc. So yet again, another thing. This time real e-commerce, so not actually software. How it started, I sometimes also don't quite know, but I just saw the need for a product and I wanted to try. And I mean, with Flowship, of course, I had a little bit the insight of what might work, because we can see the numbers of what goes on in the industry. We fulfill a lot of Kickstarters, the large Kickstarters, the $1 million Kickstarters. And you get a feel for what do the numbers need to be to make direct-to-consumer e-commerce work. So do you have enough money for everything?
But what I think is really cool was when I was looking at your profile, I'm going way back now. So I went back to obviously your education experience. And you started in Germany, but you also got an MBA later. But during both your educational tenures, you studied abroad, right? So you kind of had an idea. It seems like you kind of knew always that you wanted to be an international, right? And then you were moving into your you went to consulting, KPMG, and then after that you had started a slide company. Was that the Slide?
AdPress and Beyond Slides.
I was connected.
There's a lot of things in between. It's been a couple of years.
Well, as I was going through your profile, it looked like you do something, and then while you're doing something, you get like an idea for something that can make that better, or like how you can leverage that experience. So like when you were in consulting and maybe you were doing slides, you were like, this could be better. So you went on to found a company.
True.
You were doing some adjunct teaching, and then it seems like maybe when you were doing that, you came up for the Beyond Slides. So is this correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to this. So the original idea for AdPress was, why do presentations at universities always have to, for a better word, suck, right? So it's been, 15 years. since I went to university the last time. Back then you had PowerPoint already, but it was still for a lot of professors early days. And I mean, if you go to any consulting firm, I was auditor, but also advisor at KPMG, we have departments for that, right? So sort of like an outsourcing department in the firm that makes everything look nicer. And then you communicate the message better. And I was thinking, why can't you have that in a university too? And I think it still holds true. I think the big lesson that I got from that period was it's not just about product. You hear this a lot. Second-time founder cares about distribution maybe more than just the product. And I was trying to develop a product that I would like to use myself as a student. And I totally didn't understand how difficult it would be to sell anything to university, let alone government university. I went through bidding process. I actually got a consulting gig with HKUST at the time. It's just so slow, and you don't realize if you cannot make the sale happen in a sustainable, scalable way, you still don't have a business, even if you can render a service for a short period of time.
So it seems like, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, once again, I only go with the information I have, they didn't go as well as you thought?
I mean, the outcome was fine, but it was just incredibly difficult to sell. You need to sell to the organization, and then separately, you need to convince every individual professor. And at the time, I was actually switching to what was then becoming Beyond Slides, which was back in 2010. iPad comes out. I was thinking everybody's going to study on their iPads now because it makes total sense.
Yeah.
And remember, that's before you had relatively large iPhone screens.
Yeah.
So you really had that need for a bigger screen and study in that way. And then, of course, I mean, again, inertia of these organizations. It took essentially COVID for people to start thinking about, oh, let's maybe do video calls or video classes and digitize a little bit. And I mean, there's so many layers in there. For example, technological shift, but also the inertia of an organization. If you do a video out of a course, then to a large degree, you can get rid of the professor, right? So you can scale it.
People want?
Well, I mean, it depends. So you can have parts digitized and you can have other parts in person. So my idea back then was, can I license a degree? Can I get the quality of the lecture material top notch with pre-recorded video, and then have all the tutorials and all the interactivity in person? Sounds nice, but I mean, that's even worse sales process. I mean, think about this, right?
Is that
license the program, and I mean, I had all the network back then, but it was just impossible to pull off.
Yeah. Blended learning, is that the
that's more like MOOCs were back then.
MOOCs, oh man.
Not a big solution if you think about it, right?
No, I don't think it's like, it sounds, MOOCs always sound ideal on paper, but I don't think it's actually the way people want their education delivered. We're still always tinkering to try to improve our learning process here with, people want online, offline, such and such. Do you exit those or?
No, I mean, I made at least profits with it.
That's good.
But it wasn't
a gentle sunset.
Yeah.
So from the tech perspective for this, for these, you are coming from a business background, a finance background. So you came into those, you had the idea, you seem like a pretty organized guy. You've done a lot of things at once. Pretty impressive. How did you have those developed?
I mean, first of all, I always see myself sort of as a product guy, and I like technology. And for example, Beyond Slides, the iPad app I used, it's also really dating me now. Back then, there was a thing as these, how do you call this, digital magazines. Back when Adobe was thinking you can have magazines on iPads, and that will be the future. And you could use that technology to deliver video and materials and so on. So you didn't need to program anything, actually, even back then.
So you were one-man band?
Yeah, it was one-man.
That's really impressive.
Yeah.
So what skills did you have to pick up?
Shoot videos. So I had that experience by myself as well. How do you write a script? How do you tell a story? How do you make it succinct? Timing and everything, right? And then, of course, how do you package all of this? layouts.
So the product itself, you did the marketing, I guess the website, everything that you needed to sort of pitch it.
I mean, I was also an adjunct professor at the time, so that gave me the opportunity to peek behind the curtain, so that you understand how universities actually work. First was through HKUST, right, and then CUSCS, also in Hong Kong with the Australian school. And I mean, it really helps if you have that background knowledge, how the organization works, and then actually you get the feeling for, okay, here's the actual challenge, right? So everybody can pick up a nice microphone and a teleprompter and so on and create something. But if you try to really productize and sell it, then suddenly you realize, wait a second, you don't have the resources, you don't have even the time to create all of this yourself.
So you...
but you got to try sometimes.
Like you got to try. No, I think it's super impressive. Obviously, you're a very driven individual. But in those experiences, so those two, and then Monoblocc, right?
Yeah.
As a founder, have you like managed or hired a team in that respect?
So, I mean, actually, my philosophy is still small teams.
Small teams.
So I really like this idea of the best manager is the person who does the job to the point that they're actually really good at, and then they don't have the time anymore because their responsibility exceeds the amount of time they have, and then they hire, as opposed to, oh, I have an idea, let's hire some technical person, or let's hire an expert. There's always a room for everything, if you will, but I really believe in small teams. Do as much as you can yourself so that you first experience all the pain points yourself, maybe develop a feel for what the brand should be. So right now with Monoblocc, I'm on Shopify, clicking around myself. I hire freelancers for design and so on. The moment that I've tried it actually and realized, okay, now I know what I want and I cannot actually do it anymore. I have a partner, co-founder, who is an industrial designer, and I cannot draw designs in CAD. I cannot render stuff. And here I really learned actually also maybe don't want to do everything yourself. Try to focus on the things that you are best at, strength, and also be a little bit efficient with your time, even though you could do a lot of things yourself. But yeah, I mean, it is actually for everybody who's creative, that's sort of the loop that goes on in your mind constantly. Should I do this myself, or should I have a partner, or should I outsource it? Should I leverage myself? And there's probably not a perfect rule for this. You have to try it out.
This is a convenient, not segue, but way for me to pitch one of our philosophies at Xccelerate, which is that's the benefit of mentorship. So, we believe in just-in-time learning and have people like try and fail, which a lot of students are frustrated. A lot of students, I think, I'm not sure if you recognize this in your educational background or being adjunct. People seem to want things spoon-fed, and that can be culture to culture, but that's not like the best way to learn. You have to try and fail. And then I think when you hit that point where you realize your weakness and you seek a mentor, whether you pay them in abundance or they're really nice and they're just altruistic and they teach you, I think that's one way that people download a lot of sort of information or skills. But also just out of curiosity, did you sort of like you're on Shopify, are you figuring out how to build and manage your own like ads and that kind of stuff?
I actually run my own ads. So we're now past the Kickstarter phase. So it was successful.
Congrats.
Thank you very much.
It's such a cool design. Check it out, obviously.
If you were on a Kickstarter, you can try to blow it up, make it as big as possible. How do you make a big Kickstarter happen? There's actually with everything that feels viral nowadays, there's always something orchestrated behind it. There's always ads behind it. If you have 10 times the ad budget, whatever your progress is, it will 10x, right? I mean, of course, there's inefficiencies in there, but without ad budgets, you're not going to have $1 million Kickstarter. But I was trying to do is try to figure out everything to a certain degree myself, put my own money behind it, run my own ads, so that I get a feel for, okay, what is the brand going to be and what is going to, what's going to bite. I had plenty of experiences with agencies in the past with the previous companies.
Yeah.
There's a time and place for agencies, but if you cannot manage them, you will be able to really burn a lot of money. And I mean, yeah, they get paid for doing things as opposed to necessarily having the outcomes. So you need to really know where the brand's going to be.
So you need to know, exactly. Empathize with your subordinates, obviously guide them, and then with agencies, know when to read between the lines, because otherwise they're like, no offense to any agencies, but like they'll be like, oh, all I have to do. Sometimes you get the feeling that all I have to do is show up, show some charts and graphs, and some things and percentages, and that's my job, and just get them to nod and smile. But if you know what you're looking for, I know a few guys that run e-commerce shops, and they'll hire people and they'll record their screen and like make sure that they're doing everything just to be sure. But anyway, neither here nor there. But that's really impressive, and I completely agree with you that you should learn a little bit about everything before you go and hand it off. So that's been your startup experience, but you also are you've gone through the CFO.
Yeah.
Blew me. And so you do have, in that sense, management experience. So one thing that we do like to talk about on this show is, sounds good to say that, it's getting there, is culture.
Sure.
Right? So, one thing when we have a lot of students that go through our programs, or we've been doing this long enough to get a feel for like what really distract students. Sometimes like they'll show up and they'll do the work, but they still in the back of their head, they have this voice that says like, you're not good enough, or you're not learning the right things, or like, you're not going to get hired for one reason or another. But then, as I've said on other episodes, when I actually talk to founders or entrepreneurs or people that are in a position to hire, and we ask them, like, what do you look for in a team or a culture, such and such, very seldom do they go right into the hard skills. Like, I want to get a CV. I want that CV to say every skill that I'm looking for, and then I'm going to hire them. They always say I prefer to work with people that have, a good culture fit. So, you Flowship and Blue Me startups, you've been around culture. How has the culture like differed between those two?
So, I mean, maybe backing off a little bit. So Bloomy was about 30 employees. Flowship was about 100 employees, just for scale comparison. And for context, I think culture is sort of the in-between implicit thing of how do you want to interact as a team? What are your values? Everything that you cannot really write out as in terms of policies and rules. And it starts with the founding team. Leading by example is probably the only way to establish a culture. And I think there's also a variety of cultures that can work. I mean, some teams can be a little bit more competitive. Some can be a little bit more supportive, I would say. I think, at least in our case, it was always more on the inclusive, on the supportive side, simply because also that's sort of the environment that we would like for ourselves. I mean, in both of those cases, I was CFO, so I wasn't CEO, not the director necessarily of that culture per se. But always a significant influence there. And I personally also, when I was an employee at KPMG or so, I also don't like too formal setups. I don't like to be put on the spot. I don't like to be sort of like perfectly directed. I want to receive parameters. I want to maybe have in reasonable amounts the ability to fail. Right. I mean, of course, maybe not in auditing, right? but there's so many gray zones in between, right? And I mean, especially when it comes to tech startups, when it comes to also Monoblocc. I mean, here we're talking about essentially creative tasks all the time. And you might have an idea what you want, and then you as the leader need to take yourself back and realize, wait a second, I don't know everything. If I give too much of a direction, then all of these other ideas don't come to the table. And that's probably also a challenge that I sometimes have.
Yeah.
A diverse team really can help you identify flaws, be complementary when it comes to skills and experiences and what the customer might want, things that you don't see yourself, or at least try to send marketing materials around among friend groups, among my partner and so on, even if the responsibility is maybe not exactly that. So yeah,
I see what you mean. So giving everyone like a chance to So what's your vision for, I wish I can explain it. We'll show a picture of it, but it's this really cool monitor stand that has everything you can dream and more, whether you're an influencer or a streamer. You have room for a microphone, lights. Looks perfect for, I don't know why, it just looks like something that would go very well with a standing desk. You seem like a healthy guy. Do you work at a standing desk?
I have a standing desk.
I knew it. I had a feeling.
Everything moves in tandem, like perfect.
That's, for some
Nobody's
reason,
wobbling anymore.
for some weird reason, when I was looking through your history and I was like making those connections, like, oh, it looks like this guy kind of always knew he wanted to be an international person, or like how you seem to take things from previous experiences and apply them to your future opportunities or experiences. I was like, this sounds like somebody that would use a standing desk. And then I looked at I was like, yeah, for sure. So for
I got my first one though last summer, so I was really late to the game. But
is it it's got the electric? It's like IKEA. IKEA has a nice.
No, EcoBore. Name drop.
Name drop. Maybe they'll sponsor the show one day.
or they add my product into their store. They have like a nice store in K11. So
it could be the first standing desk podcast. In which case, then shorts would be. But anyway, what's your vision for Mono? How big do you guys want to make this?
I think there is a real potential here to bring this to everybody who works from home.
Yeah.
No Herman Miller steel case for video lighting setups, either at home or in banks and corporate offices yet.
Yeah.
Currently, what it is a accessory mounting solution that attaches to what you call the Visa mount at the back of your monitor. So every monitor has these 4 little holes at the back.
Yeah.
So that's a Visa mount. If you have, a projector or like a TV for meeting room, they all have different sizes of Visa mounts. Every monitor has these.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And instead of putting like another little tripod on your desk or a little stand on your desk that clogs up your desk space, I wanted to have something that attaches to what you already have, which is your monitor or your monitor arm, stand which is in between, and then you attach everything from there. So with aluminum rods. And since here's the segue to what I did before. Since I had all of this video experience, I have a nice tripod setup. So I know what a 15mm rod setup is.
Yeah.
And that they are ubiquitous and what an M12 connector is. And so instead of creating my own video lighting setup, here comes Flowship. Flowship tells me if you want to ship electronics and batteries, that's more difficult than pure aluminum products. So keep it simple. Just a bracket, aluminum rods, customizable, modular, and then in the future, build your own LEDs, build your own monitor arm. We currently don't build the monitor arm. Later on, build your own LEDs. Yeah, and of course, cool. We're not going to have a factory, but we're going to design it and combine it, and I mean, then it really has the potential to become something bigger. I mean, if you want to create a D2C brand nowadays. I mean, in the early stages, but the numbers that I've seen in the past, you need to have essentially a product beyond $100 and otherwise you don't have the customer acquisition cost spent in there. So here comes again, if you think about the product that you want to have, you might start thinking, oh yeah, let's do this for $20, and you immediately forget it's impossible to start this.
Yes,
it's just not going to happen anymore unless you, I don't know, one version of a famous person with distribution built into your person, right? And so ideally you have a good, expensive, expandable product. Not expensive in the sense of too expensive, but $100 to $200, maybe some add-ons that you can build around. So you create an ecosystem. So when people know your brand, they can come again.
That's so cool. Okay. Maybe you can connect with Manesh, by the way. He was one of our guests on the show, the second one, who is building an AI-based product to help people find suppliers for...
I was actually texting with him today.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
It's all coming together. This is like a well-orchestrated Christopher Nolan movie.
But this was also actually through the network, right? So
through
Founder Circle, I posted today.
Yes.
I need some expertise with inventory management because I'm in my Excel space and it's getting a little bit out of hand. And this is sort of the moment, when do you need help?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have maybe a mentor or a network, Founder Circle in this case, you post, you get a response, and suddenly we were talking, right? And
it's perfect. I saw your message, and then that got me thinking, man, this is complicated, but you should talk to Manesh. But I had a feeling the universe would fate it so that you guys came together. He was the second guest on the episode series. So I mean, like, just out of my own curiosity, I mean, I imagine that when you have an idea like this, it's really difficult to find and source all these things that you had to go to different suppliers.
Yeah.
So what sort of people do you envision yourself?
AI people is going to be the users. I think. I think there's a lot of potential for us to have more efficient operations as AI comes into play. But I think when it comes to building out your team, you probably want to stick around what is sort of the core of what makes a strong company. And in our case, it would be product design, and then building the brand. And then later on, probably the next leg would be sort of the supply chain management side of things, right? So that you can run everything efficiently at a cost-effective level, timely delivery, etc. But in any of these spaces, you have variations of part-time or freelance work or agencies that you can think of. I think when it comes to the ad space, I think in the intermediate stage, probably you switch from doing it yourself to an agency to immediately buy the expertise and then scale that a little bit while you know what you want, and then suddenly bring it back in-house once you have the resources to actually afford somebody who's good. And then you probably start with actual experts, and then you go into execution roles. So I think that would probably be the way for me to structure it. Somebody who actually already knows a little bit about whatever specific area they're getting, so they can hit the ground running to a degree. And since you were alluding to before, what do I look for in people? I mean, it's always attitude. Attitude is probably sort of this first thing, because I mean, the company will change just like any startup or any scale up dramatically every year or two. And so the roles will change. And if you have the right person who wants to grow into something, then they will grow into that. And that's, of course, the challenge for everybody when it comes to education, right? Because, I mean, in my days, like 15, 20 years ago, you didn't have social media marketing at all. And I mean, whatever flavor of new development you have, you need to learn it somehow anyway. So it's not necessarily the university degree that you're looking for. It's the attitude. Have they done something similar, relevant, and maybe some key skills that they are good at? Like, I don't know, marketing just comes to mind, copywriting. Can they actually copyright, or do you just have ideas? When it comes to product design, have they done something out of aluminum before? That could be something.
Okay. So I'm just curious, when you're learning skills to get to that point that you discussed before, just to get enough information to be able to manage either an individual or an agency, what's your go-to method?
For analyzing that person?
Oh no, well I'm interested in as well. But like when you're like, oh, I need to learn, like just hypothetically, since you brought up copywriting, if you were like, oh, I need to learn something about copywriting, or oh, I should learn a little bit about ad management, or God forbid you get a little bit deeper in design, like tools could be CAD or Figma, for example, UI UX. How would you personally go about acquiring those skills? Like YouTube, Coursera?
YouTube is a big one.
I
think YouTube is usually the the starting point, of course, because it's free, but it's also very easy to get short and long form content at the same time. I'm more the visual person. I don't like to read a lot.
Yeah.
So I usually go that route, and I probably try to map out what is out there, right? So you can, if you think about ads again, so if you want to run your own Facebook ads, you need to know the technical side of just the campaign manager and everything. How do you set it up? And there's technical things, and you have your own experiences when, I don't know, you get banned for a day or something like that, right? So this stuff happens all the time. You need to know who you ask. And the funny thing is, like, the moment that you ask people, how do you get unbanned from whatever happened, then you suddenly realize, okay, only 10% know this. So 10% of people actually work with this thing to a degree that they encounter it. And so a lot of people manage as opposed to do stuff. So, I mean, it's just a coincidental learning there.
Yeah.
But yeah, ads, suddenly you learn, okay, the text in the ad is called copy because why? You heard about this on YouTube. And if you want to get into copywriting, then suddenly maybe you want to get into a copywriting course or follow one of those blogs, and you have all these rabbit holes and that you can enter into. And I mean, you're probably not going to get out of this loop of having to try a little bit and see, okay, wait a second, I'm not going to be the expert in it. It works a little bit, and now I need somebody else.
What advice would you give to somebody who's learning a new skill, who has like decided on a new purpose in life or career path or what have you, but maybe is a little bit anxious about their ability to climb that mountain?
So first of all, I mean, that anxiety I still have, even after 20 years, right? So, I mean, I recently read this again, that creativity and anxiety go together. So, I mean, if you have uncertainty, which is what creativity is to a degree, I mean, you care about something, then you will start to think, can I actually do this? And you need to evaluate it, because otherwise you go into the wrong track for a way too long time. So, I mean, maybe the first step is to realize this is normal and everybody goes through this, and then maybe look for signs of progress. So did I actually learn something? Did I actually deliver something to whoever I was promising I would deliver something, be it at school, be it at internships, wherever. And when it comes to thinking of how do you apply yourself to a role, I would say, can you turn whatever you just learned into something actionable, into something that actually helps somebody, so that you can a little bit hit the ground running. Like if you have sort of that inkling, I mean, probably the audience is in tech and programming. Maybe you're in a certain field in a technology. Can you maybe get a little bit deeper in something so that you actually have a value to present in that, and then figure out what that was so that you can actually communicate it. I mean, be it in a resume, if that's still a thing, or
portfolio project.
Yeah, or try to sort of get a curated image of yourself out there, right? So I'm the AI guy, I'm the whatever guy.
Nice. Personal brand.
Yeah. So, I mean, it counts at every single step. If you have, if you try too many different things, then branding becomes difficult, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But you can focus for certain audiences. Depends where you go. Yeah. Maybe you're in the finance industry. Maybe you're in spa and beauty bookings. Maybe you can frame whatever you're telling that person.
You're going to be personally branded as the stand guy.
Yeah. So what I was saying out of this, I was thinking like, okay, how would I brand myself? You know, like finance or product. I mean, like, I'm very interested in AI myself.
Yeah.
I follow podcasts and YouTubes all the time, every day, for multiple different reasons, either efficiency or just because I believe it really will be that great and AGI is going to come. So I wouldn't know how to brand myself either. So there you go. Useful advice.
Anything that you want the audience to know, whether it be about Monoblocc or share whatever at the last moment. What's going on next? I saw on the website, if you missed the Kickstarter, you could pre-order now.
You can pre-order now. So on the website, there's the button, join us.
Yeah.
I mean, product's going to ship in 2 months, roughly speaking. So it's going to be very exciting. When it comes to the HR side, to the hiring part or self-development part, personally, I believe in AGI, being true AGI, being human-like. So what that means for me, it's going to be the shift from the expert world to the generalist world. And that in itself really is unintuitive in so many different layers, because all the grown-ups, all the parents come from the expert world. Be a lawyer, be an accountant, be a programmer, be whatever. And to be the generalist, you probably need to follow sort of a combination of where value is, but also what interests you. And you suddenly are more welcome to take that little detour. And then you can have interesting perspectives on new products and new ideas.
Generalism is the way. Is the way of the future.
I think so.
We're going to have to make more generalist courses. Anyway, that's been a fantastic episode. Wolfgang is one of my favorite names of all time since I was a kid. Anytime I met a guy named Wolfgang, I was like, why didn't my parents name me Wolfgang?